Alright, in today's video, we're going to be discussing a topic that I'm speaking from my own experience of playing the game. But if you do want to improve at this game, you have to play more tiers. Now, why do I say that you have to play more tiers on Pokemon Showdown or competitive Pokemon? Well, I would say one tricking does have some benefits. Like, one tricking is basically the term referring to like you're just going to main a single tier. But I do feel like certain tiers have their own certain ways of playing, and when you translate that into usage-based tiering, for example, you might have to gain new skills or play the game completely differently from what you're used to. Now, I say this because obviously I was playing monotype for quite a while, quite a long time, this whole generation basically, mainly because I hate Terra and monotype lacks Terra, so there's that. But it's still similar to usage-based tiering in the way that you're obviously using good mons, but you're constricted to using only one type. Now, from a building aspect, monotype is different from everything else because obviously you're constrained to using Pokemon that share the same type, and obviously you're thinking about matchups in the team builder as, I have to prep against types that I'm not good against, or make sure that, I still have strong matchups against another type, for example. But for like anyone that mains monotype, or at least in the sense of monotype, a lot of people thought that monotype players mainly just stick to their own tournament scene and don't really branch out. Now, that's been proven wrong on many occasions. There's a lot of good monotype players that go on to play other tiers, and they'll obviously get better at the game because of the fact that they're playing other tiers, they're learning new metas. And I do think learning new metas is a skill in itself, because again, like I made in a video many times ago, I've mentioned the fact that there's two aspects to improving at Pokemon, or there's two main aspects to the game, which is team building and playing. Now, metagame knowledge falls under both of them, to be fair, and is important mainly more in the team building and playing. But knowing the meta means you can anticipate what your opponent does, and in the team builder, that means you're prepping for the strongest threats, or using the strongest threats to maximize your chances of winning. Now, playing more tiers, again, like I said, like I stated many times that I play this game to have fun mainly. Like, I do want some glory, I do like winning tours, I do like participating in tours, because I like people to know that I'm good at the game. Like, I play for myself mainly, but I don't want people thinking this guy can't play the game, innit? Like, it's a thing where I play tournaments to, basically prove my skill at the game, which, most of the time goes pretty well, to be fair. I'm not going to act like I'm an SPL winner or anything, but I have won some team tours. I do have some good records in certain tiers, especially Nadex Farm League 1. Like, let's just speak about in the whole 10-week tour period, I only lost once, but, that's besides the point, innit? But, yeah, I felt like I improved at the game once I started playing more tiers, because if you guys know the history of this channel, obviously I started playing Gen 7 PU on this channel way back in 2017, and that was a whole lot 7 years ago. Like, it's crazy how Gen 7 was 7 years ago, but that's it's making me feel old, innit? But yeah, so I started playing Gen 7 PU, and obviously I was bad at the game. Go watch some of my earliest videos. I was not good at the game, and like, I didn't feel like I improved at the game until like Gen 8 basically. I got to a point in Gen 8, maybe around 2020, where I was like, damn, I'm actually decent at the game now. Like, I'm actually taking some wins off of some good players, at least in the PU community. I was still main in PU, but during that time, I delved into old gens, I delved into other tiers like NFE, monotype. I was always playing monotype on the side throughout my competitive career, but it's more like I was always main in PU because that's the tier I found most fun. And to be honest, if you don't care about getting better, like, just play tiers for fun. It doesn't really matter. Like, again, games are supposed to be played for fun, but like, if you do find a tier that you do find fun, more likely than not, you are going to improve at the game, because of the fact that you're learning a new meta, you're basically just learning new things, using that in practice, making doubles. Eventually, like, you're gonna have a cycle of winning and losing, especially if you ladder a lot. And it's the thing where you learn from your mistakes, you start doubling, playing more aggressively when needed, knowing how to play against certain matchups, like stall, depending on what tier you're playing, or just being careful of not falling into noob traps, like staying in on like an opponent that's probably not swapping out. Like, it's always a thing where, like, you're in scenarios where a Pokemon can set up on you, and if you allow them to set up on you, then you probably just lose the game. So you'd rather just attack and stay in. I was just playing a NFE tournament game where it was basically the case where I had a Combusken in on Ivysaur, for example. I could easily just set up SD on an Ivysaur's or grass type in it, but like if you feel like the teammates in the back aren't gonna come in, because realistically Combusken, you know, its stabs are too strong and like they practically have no switch-ins. So it's a thing where they can either sleep powder me as I SD, or they could just attack me and chip me down so their teammates can revenge kill me later. You know, Sludge Bomb has a 30% chance of poisoning. So at that point, you'll just click Flare Blitz, because you're not trying to have this Ivysaur, you know, cripple you while you're trying to set up in it. So yeah, and I did end up winning that game. You know, Combusken did its job. Obviously I had speed boost as well, but you know, just case by case basis, just realizing when you should set up, when you should just attack, and you know, you gain that skill when you play more games, you know. So yeah, in terms of my experience with playing other tiers, obviously when I first started playing competitive Pokemon in Gen 6, way before I was uploading videos, even though I did want to upload videos even back when Auras came out, but you know, I lacked a capture card, and you know, the technological difficulties prevented me from uploading at the time until I had like a good laptop. But yeah, I started playing Auras RU. Then Gen 7 came along. I was also playing Gen 7 RU in like the Pokebank days, alpha beta of Gen 7 RU. Kind of shifted down to PU, and that's, you know, why many people in the Smogon community even know me, because they knew me as the PU guy that uploaded videos. And then I was playing Gen 7 Monotype at the time, just as a side thing. Like, I wasn't really taking it seriously, but I did like the concept of Monotype. Then we had Ubers as well, so I was also playing other tiers. I've always liked Ubers because you get to use legendary Pokemon. Gen 9 Ubers though, a bit tough, but that's besides the point. And then I felt like I was improving as a player once I delved into the old gens like PU and ZU, because when you're playing the old gen, you have to take the mechanics of that particular gen into account. You know, Gen 4 has no team preview, the last generation to have that. And you know, you have to think about the lead meta games in specific meta games like PU. Like, I remember back in the day, I mean, Glalie still probably a good lead in Gen 4 PU. I haven't played it in years, but you know, just having something like a Spike's lead leading into offense, like just setting up Explosion. Also, Explosion having the defense half in property that it did before Gen 5, and you know, like, you take many things of a different meta game that you're playing, you add that onto your overall skill set, and then you play the game accordingly. So yeah, there's just things like that that you can take into account when team building. And if we go through my team builder right now, as you can see, I have 1,527 teams, and this is all for different meta games. Like, we're going to be scrolling for time, but you know, you see in that deck's Monotype, I have a lot of teams here. You know, well, I was a Monotype main, so I had a lot of stuff. You know, I had some DPP RU teams, DPP UU, some draft stuff, and like 1,500 teams for so many meta games. You guys can't see my folders, but I pretty much have a folder for each generation. Like, for each, like, if you know on Showdown, there's like folders that your teams are kept in for depending on the format, and obviously I have one for each generation because I play many tiers. So, and I do feel like that's improved my game. And if you guys do want to improve, I do think this is the best way of improving. Like, if you do want to get better at a specific tier, then again, I would recommend you to focus more on that tier than other tiers. But I do feel like at some point your skill level might plateau, and if you guys want to hear about your skill level plateauing, that I have a video on that as well, if you guys are interested in that sort of discussion video. But if you ever feel like you're not improving at the game, just try try an attempt at another tier. For example, just try and find one that you might find fun. And to be fair, me personally, I find that very hard to find a tier that's fun, especially in Gen 9 with Stupid Terror. But you know, if you want to, you know, relive the past, play some old gens, you know, I would never not want to play Gen 8 Ubers, Gen 7 Ubers, you know, some of the old gens, like especially Gen 4. Like, I'm a Gen 4 lower tier main. I love Gen 4 lower tier so much. And like, in terms of why there's a lot of skill expression in the Gen 4 lower tiers, is just because back then you had pretty much half the Pokemon compared to now, and then you have like way below the tiering rung where you're left with like maybe 20 to 30 mons left, and you're just like, how do I use these mons that none of the higher tiers even want to use? You know, like Gen 4 SU, like Lopunny, Octillery. Like, you still have some decent fully evolved Pokemon down there, but you still have a lot of not fully evolved ones like Pupitar, Croconaw, and you know, you just have to figure out how to use those certain mons, because you just have to play the game. Like, the player base is small, and like, you just learn by playing the game, realizing what's good and what's bad, and that's just typically the competitive Pokemon journey when you're trying to learn a new tier. But yeah, I think I've said everything that needs to be said. The overall message of the video is, realistically, if you do want to get better at the game, expand your repertoire a little bit, because that will also help you in the tournament scene as well. If you do want to try and get into tournaments, try and sign up for seasonals for any tier. Just learn, use sample teams, ladder, you know, like, make an effort if you do want to make an effort at playing the game, because I know some people get mad about not getting drafted in certain team tools, but you kind of need to prove yourself in individuals or even ladder performance, suspect test recs, for people to actually know that, you know, you're not bad at the game, and they can trust that you'll get some wins in a team tour, innit? And that's, you know, where I started. I didn't really get drafted much. Like, I remember it took me like 2 or 3 PUPLs before I even got drafted, and I wasn't even that bad at the game. I mean, I've improved a lot since then, but like, I wasn't trash. And like, obviously nowadays I kind of get drafted in the tiers that I play, Natdex Premier League, Natdex other tiers Premier League, Monotype Premier League, and all these team tours, and that's just because I've expanded over the years what I play, and I've improved. That is just how it is. But yeah, thanks for watching this video, guys. Hopefully you guys enjoyed and agree with what I've said.